Wait a second. Live. Am I live right now? Greg, I'm waiting until this button goes live on Rockfin. Should be live on Rockfin. I'm going to double check and see if this is working on YouTube and the other platforms because it told me right before I started. All right. So, beautifully, perfectly, the screen is frozen almost immediately. All right, get rid of that. So you guys can't see me right now. Can you see me right now, Nate, or is it just a black screen? I got to pop out and back in because it froze. Be right back in like 2 seconds. Still gone. Freaking great. Freaking great. Let me try this. Bye. What the F, dude? I'm back. Hopefully, obviously people dropped off when they saw nothing there. Hopefully, the one frozen camera frame that happened every show, if you're new to the show, at least at one point in time, something malfunctions with the camera and I freeze. Hopefully, we got that out of the way right off the bat. Everything appears to be working right now. Let's do it. Thank you, Nate or Greg. I appreciate that tip over there in Rockfin. It's very kind of you. Election subversion. Even Kamala's B-roll footage is scripted. Even her B-roll. And Diddy goes down probably soon on his cellmate. Excuse me. This is Propaganda Report. I'm Brad Binkley. I'm about 99% sure that I have figured out where Tim Walz is going to be in Atlanta tomorrow and at what time. I'm not going to say it because a lot of heightened security stuff going on right now. And frankly, I don't want to jinx it because they work very hard to keep the specific locations and specific times of Kamala and her campaign surrogates from the general public that could come and talk to them. Maybe they want to see them. Maybe they want to protest them or ask them questions. They only let controlled audiences in. But I think that I have figured out through a lot of cross-referencing and finding out when planes are coming in and out where Coach Tim is going to be. And I am going to be going downtown tomorrow and dressing as a white dude for Harris and attempting to ask some trolley questions. If I am correct. If I'm not correct, there will still be campaign events going on. Where do we go? And just for the record, FBI, I'm only going down to have a little fun. The only thing that I'll be armed with is a quick wit and a good spirit. I just want to know what the coach has to say on cultural subjects. If there's any questions you guys would like for me to ask, if I do get the chance to ask questions of Tim or any other DNC member, which I know there will be somebody from the DNC where I go. Put that in the chats. Tell me the trolley questions, keeping in mind that I have to lead them to believe that I am a white dude for Harris up until the point that I'm ready to get thrown out, because they will be very quick to the draw. So any questions you guys want me to ask, put them in there, and I'll take them with me tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have a good time. Josh is going to be going with me. Okay, so starting a little bit different tonight with a local story that has national relevance, and you'll see why when I connect it to another story. In the Georgia Capitol, We're going to have a guest come on in a minute until we get through a couple of these quick stories. In the Georgia Capitol, ping pong balls fly during the police Stop Cop City Training Center protest, which happened down at the Golden Dome in Atlanta this morning. So as city council members were debating some referendums, the Stop Cop City protesters, you're allowed to go to these hearings and you're allowed to speak during public comment. They went in there and they disrupted the city council meeting by throwing thousands of ping pong balls. And you can see on screen here, they're all dressed in slime green t-shirts. I don't know why. I don't know why they chose slime green. And I don't know why they chose these two ladies. That's just an old lady on the left with long pigtails, too long for her age. And does this lady holding the sign that says, Andre Dickens, you something democracy, does she have a chin patch on? Did somebody clock her in the chin? Or did she cut herself shaving? It looks like a chin patch. Looks like she took Trump's ear patch and put it on her chin. But they disrupted this meeting and they chanted that they destroyed democracy because they are trying to stop Cop City from opening, which is opening soon. And the council members had to actually stop and deliberate whether or not they were going to continue with the meeting. And this is where the relevant part is going to connect to here in a minute. They did continue having the meeting and making the decisions and votes they needed to make because the protesters went outside and they started doing their stuff out there. I'll say this. If you're going to protest, throwing a bunch of ping pong balls at the people you're protesting, that's fine. I think that's kind of funny, and I'll give them some credit. That's not firebombing or throwing Molotov cocktails like some of the other Stop Cop City protesters. I don't know if they were throwing Molotov cocktails. They were definitely doing fire setting around the gate of where the cop center is supposed to be. This is the way to protest. But why I brought that up is, one, it's a funny way to protest, but two, is because I've been telling you guys about how the Georgia State Elections Board, and we'll bring a guest in a second. If you're listening, guest, I don't want to reveal who it is yet. This is relevant to you. The Georgia State Elections Board is having a hearing on Friday, and the Georgia State Elections Board has been at the center of the ongoing attempt by the media and progressives to make sure the election is very, very easy to steal if necessary by making it as untransparent or lacking transparency as possible and accusing members of the Georgia State Election Board of being election deniers, smearing them. This is the stuff that Garland Favorito, voter GA, the people he works with, the rules being proposed, they call them dangerous to democracy. All these rules that are being proposed, the ones that have passed, and there's about 9 or so more rules that I believe are going to be proposed on Friday, are all designed to increase transparency and make it as hard as possible for the establishment to shroud everything in secrecy and steal the election again. They are rules that are reasonable, that make perfect sense if you subtract all the Rachel Maddows and Brian Stelter saying, this is dangerous to democracy. How dare they hand count the ballots? How awful, these election deniers. You might get paper cuts. Paper cuts. You could die from an infection from a paper cut. A paper cut infection is an insurrection, and that's what these election board members, they might as well be saying stuff like that. I'm pointing this out because the Democrats, the progressives, are organizing. They're very much organizing to disrupt this state election board meeting on Friday, probably in kind of the same way that those ping pong ball protesters, I was going to show you a video of that, but it's not. It's just them shouting like protesters and throwing ping pong balls everywhere. But if they could protest in the way that they did and actually disrupt this hearing and prevent a vote from happening, that would absolutely be a win for the progressives because they don't want these rules passed. And you can see here, this is the Georgia Democrats mobilize.us page. I showed you this a few weeks ago. This is an updated version of this. State Election Board, September 20th meeting. And it has the instructions here. The next Georgia State Election Board meeting will take place on Friday, September 20th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. 9 a.m. is when it starts, right? The building opens at 7 a.m. We recommend arriving at 7 a.m. to get a seat in the main room. And they will also, so they want to fill up the main room with a bunch of progressives who are going to be shouting down the rule makers and smearing them. I mean, saying awful things about them. Making people think that they're dangerous people, that they're wild conspiracy theorists, that they're insurrectionists. I mean, these are the kind of talking points they'll be shouting. And that the rules are trying to cause chaos. They are going to have their people there at 7 a.m. because they want to make sure that as many of their people are in the room and that none of the other people who are on the other side of it can get in to oppose them. And they're going to try and fill up the public comment section. So the public comment portion, the public can get up. If you sign up, the first 30 people get to go up and speak prior to the rules being presented. Garland Favorito will be presenting 3 rules. And you get to speak before, and you get to urge them to pass it or urge them to not pass it. And they don't want anybody advocating for it to get to speak beforehand. They want the people who advocate for it to have to wait till 5 p.m. This is a subversion, an election subversion attempt that's going to be going on. And you can see down here, as we near the meeting date, we'll send an invitation for our next State Elections Board pep rally. They have a State Election Board pep rally. A pep rally where they all get together and they say, how are we going to subvert democracy? They probably think that they're doing the right thing. They probably think that they are protecting democracy because they're brainwashed because they watch too much Rachel Maddow. Penis neck, as Ian accurately calls they. Has Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes, and Stephen Colbert ever been in the same room together? I'm convinced these are the same people. And then it says, where we will prepare for the September 20th meeting, including reviewing oral/written comment guidance and coordination. I have gone to these Zoom meetings, not these specifically. I signed up for this one. Hopefully, I'll be able to get into it. But same language is used, and what they mean by that is they're going to give you a script. And your job is to read that script, to shout that script out loud while you're there. The people there who fill up the public comments from this group will say the same things. They will smear the people who are pro-election integrity, and they will demonize the rules. It's going to be an attempt at subversion. I'm going to be there. Let's bring in our guest real quick to see if he has any comments on that. It's kind of wild how Garland's been doing this election integrity stuff for over 20 years and how it has just become the center of attention. I mean, this meeting, probably on the day of, probably Friday, will be in the national news. And then the entire next week, the establishment media will talk about how dark the rules are. I mean, everything will be about those rules. It will be the main storyline throughout the next week, and it will continue to be a major part of this subversion attempt moving forward. Joining us to comment on the news tonight. Are you there, Mr. President? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Brad.
Mr. President, I have to say I wasn't going to talk about the assassination attempt at Mar-a-Lago. Well, they say he didn't fire off any shots. FBI is investigating it as an assassination attempt. You know, you seem to be safe, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm safe. I'm safe right now.
Yeah. Right. Did you feel like you were in danger at Mar-a-Lago?
When there's a lunatic with a firearm, I don't think anybody feels safe.
Right.
I was gonna bring it up myself, talking to you when you brought up the stuff with Garland. It just goes to prove that these Democrats are criminals.
Well, what they say in the news the past couple days is that it's you saying stuff like that is the reason
I mean,
why.
the guy had an extensive criminal record.
The guy was a bit of a doofus. Patsy, did you get a look at him?
Oh yeah, I mean, the guy Ryan Wesley Ralph, like he's one of these other guys with three names.
Is that he has three names? Is it Wesley Rouse? I didn't know that.
Ryan Wesley Ralph.
We do say the three name thing a lot, but doesn't everybody, most everybody, not like Prince or some Jewish people I know don't have middle names, but most of us have three names. They just say the three names in the news when someone gets accused of an assassination attempt.
Yeah, John Wilkes Booth.
Right, it could just be John
Booth.
Booth.
I'm the closest thing we've had to Lincoln, in hundreds of years.
Well, Lincoln didn't want to free the slaves. He said he would. He said he wouldn't do it if he could keep the Union together.
Well, I'm not saying that I wouldn't have freed the slaves or sent them back to Africa. I think that's what his plan was, to send them back.
Yeah. I mean, you're shedding some new light on Lincoln. We have a question here from Nate. He says, "Are you upset that you didn't get to hit the shooter with your amazing golf shot? Like you could have stopped him."
Nate, I could have. I really could have. I could have hit him from 500 yards away.
Yeah, asshole in one, maybe.
But, I did want to say first, hello to the great Propaganda Report Nation. We're big fans here. We're big fans.
You and Melania are?
Melania and I listen to you and Ian as much as we can.
I tell you what, Mr. President, God forbid one of these attempts succeeds. I hope it doesn't. But again, do I have your permission to go after Melania if it does?
If it does, you can marry Melania, Brad.
I appreciate that. Make sure you tell her that and put it in your will.
Ian can't.
Okay, Ian cannot do it. Ian has to marry Jared.
He has to marry Jared.
Yeah, he has to divorce your daughter and marry Ian.
Yeah, and she's not allowed to marry Ian either.
No, she can also marry me. So I wanted to show you this picture.
They got to be taken care of.
Yeah, well, I'll take care of him as long as you leave me enough money to do so. So this is the guy. I did show him yesterday. So there he is. I mean, this guy to me looks like if Bill Nye became the Joker. Ryan Ralph. You see his hair. You know what color his hair is? Do you recognize the colors he dyed his hair?
Is it red, white, and blue?
No, it's the colors of the Ukraine flag.
Oh, yeah, because he's a big Ukrainian activist.
He's a big Ukrainian activist, and his son said that his dad hated Trump just like everybody should, but that he isn't batshit crazy. And I have to say that if his son doesn't think that dyeing his hair the colors of the Ukraine flag and going over and trying to fight for Ukraine and then trying to recruit the Taliban, if he doesn't think any of that is batshit crazy, then I think his son might have a different definition of that phrase than everybody else in the country.
He tried to recruit the Taliban.
Not the Taliban, excuse me. Former Afghan soldiers who escaped the Taliban. Andy Dick also saw somebody said he looked like Andy Dick, this guy.
He did look like Andy Dick.
Yeah.
I do have to give somebody credit. There's people that stand with Ukraine people. At least he went and stood there, or did he? Did he just say he was going to?
Did who say he was going to stand with Diddy?
This Ryan Wesley Ralph.
Did he make a statement saying that he stands with Diddy?
No, with Ukraine.
I
Ukraine.
thought you said that he said he stood with Diddy. Also, no, yeah, he's with Ukraine. He loves Ukraine.
I'm not going to advocate for anybody.
I mean, this guy's getting charged, and all he has to say is he stands with Diddy. That's not a good move.
That P. Diddy's making a lot of waves.
We'll get to P. Diddy. He's not making good waves.
Did they ever catch him?
They did. We'll talk about that here in a minute. I got a couple stories related to that. Kyle has a good point here. Says 3 names is done to differentiate folks from folks with the same first and last name. So that makes sense.
That's first and last name. So it'd be like Wesley, John Wesley.
Well, if the first and last name are not, if there's a lot of other people with that name, you want to throw that middle name in there.
Oh, so if there's like a lot of Ryan Ralphs.
Yes, exactly.
Not if the guy's name is like Brad,
Yes.
Brad, Brad.
Not it. Yeah, the three names isn't just always. They use three names. CIA asset is actually alternative explanations like that one.
His name was Brad, 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 Bradley, Brad Bradderson.
That would be an interesting name. If somebody's parents named them that, they might turn into some sort of programmed shooter.
You know, maybe it could be something with what parents name their children.
So, you know, I know somebody who is a guardian ad litem in a very low income community in Georgia, and some of the children's names who are put into foster care, they have no vowels in their name. It's just a combination of letters, and they end up in foster care.
Ozempic sounds like it could be a certain type of person's name too.
Yeah, if you name your kid Ozempic, that kid's gonna have a hard time being fat, or getting diabetes.
Yeah, Ozempic Jefferson.
Yeah. Ozempic Jefferson. So, Mr. President, I want to go through a few stories here. You can comment on them with your unique insights if you're feeling up to it. I know you've had you've had a hectic couple of days.
Been a hectic couple of days.
So these rules here, I'm not gonna read all of these rules. I'm just gonna go through what the 9 or so rules are that are gonna be voted on, which are gonna be the subject of the mainstream news. This is what's gonna be demonized. Garland put this together, a voter GA.
I can already tell you what it is. It's no IDs. IDs are racist.
No, these are rules that are to protect election integrity. These people are the people that you like.
But these are also what they're protesting.
These are the people that you praised at your rally in Atlanta for standing up to the people who try and steal elections. So you like these people, Mr. President.
No. What I'm saying is that what the things that they're wanting to protest is like, oh, you shouldn't be able to ID the person to
correct.
go vote.
Exactly. Yes.
Even though you need an ID to get booze or cigarettes or rent a car or buy a gun or.
That's different though. That's not. You're right.
You need an ID to take out a loan.
You shouldn't. You should just get money.
Yeah, the banks. I mean, the banks are corrupt. We got to stop the Federal Reserve. But
all right, Mr. President. So here's the rules that they're going to be this is proposed for the final vote on Friday, and I do plan on being there. One of them is the public posting of the ballots that are cast. And that rule allows, obviously, better control of the ballots, more transparency, reduces the risk of ballot stuffing. So I see no problem with the public posting of the ballots cast. Then you have tabulation, center, poll watcher, observation, enhancements. They want to make it.
So the first one is they can post that you did vote?
The rule itself says it requires counties to publicly provide a breakdown of ballots cast for each absentee and in-person voting method daily during early voting and on election day. So early voting and mail-in stuff can confuse things a little bit. This is just requiring them to stay up to date on being transparent about it, which seems very reasonable and logical.
And transparency is the government doesn't like transparency.
They don't like it at all. You're right. And then the tabulation, making so more ability of poll watchers to observe the machines. Less time for things to happen without poll watchers keeping an eye on things, basically. It says the current rule only lists the check-in area, the computer room, and the duplication area for poll watchers to be in. This rule is important because it adds more transparency because it gives them the ability to monitor the chain of, what's it called? The chain that it goes through. There's a chain of custody that a ballot goes through. And you want eyes on that ballot throughout the entire chain of custody. I think that's what this rule is designed at. Then you have hand counting of the ballots on election day. Makes perfect sense. Rule is important to detect errors between the scanner counts and the actual ballots scanned. And one of the things they say about this is they say, you expect people to do a better job than computers? People who've been working 80 hours? Even though there are so many people who have volunteered to do this job who are more than enthusiastic and happy to do it.
It's like when you hear someone say that your politicians should be smarter than you are.
What, like a computer versus a person?
Well, yeah, there's some people that think your politicians should be like these super brilliant X-Men type of people.
What do you think they should be?
I think they should be farmers and people that go to.
I mean, That would
join
actually
legislation and then leave and represent the people and go back to where they
go
came
back
from,
to farming,
like real estate or whatever.
That would be refreshing to have somebody who knew how to live off the land.
I mean, that's what the founding fathers were, Brad.
Who's your favorite founding father?
I like Jefferson. I like Jackson.
Yeah, because they had slaves.
That's not the only reason.
Marcus Aurelius. Yeah, Marcus Aurelius was he would have been a great founding father, a very wise one.
Yeah, so, Marcus Aurelius, fought against the Caesar.
Yeah,
so they're going to be making a new Gladiator movie.
I know. I played the trailer the other day. It looks really. They had Travis Kelce in the trailer commercial for it. I don't know how you can do it in the Gladiator. Kelce. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. So continuing with the new rules being proposed. This next one, they will count total ballots when the scanner box is emptied. Requires poll managers to hand count the total number of ballots when emptying an advanced in-person scanner ballot box and removing the ballots. The rule is important to detect errors between the scanner counts and the actual ballots scanned for all advanced in-person voting. So people voting, this early voting thing is really a way to confuse things. I know it's necessary in some cases, but it says this is a sister to the rule that we just discussed. The next one is distinguish emergency and provisional ballot paper. So they want two visually distinct types of paper, the emergency and the provisional versus the absentee, to improve the security and the chain of custody. This rule would help poll workers to distinguish stolen ballots or special ballots, which that makes perfect sense. Why would you not make the type of ballots be different if it can affect the count if they are viewed as the same?
Well, it's like when you go to like a multi-day event or something, you can buy the weekend pass, and then the daytime passes all look completely different.
Right. And, if they look the same, then you could sneak in for the weekend and the daytime, and they wouldn't know the difference.
That's stealing, right?
Exactly.
That's stealing right there. That's
It's a perfect way to make this point, Mr. President. And then continuing, absentee by mail ballot tracking. This is a great rule. Requires absentee ballots to be sent by USPS or other delivery service which offers tracking of such mailed ballots to maintain proper chain of custody. That seems pretty obvious to me. The memory card.
Maybe they should get a third party to deliver it. If it's USPS, it might take a really long time.
There are delays, and that is definitely going to play a role. Garland actually has recommendations about the mail-in ballots too. He says don't mail them in. He says take them to your polling precinct yourself.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea,
Memory card retention, because they deleted the memory cards last time. Requires memory card content and memory card to be retained for 24 months in accordance with federal and state law, which did not happen last time. They deleted it.
But wasn't that also a rule at the time, too?
Well, some of these rules Garland told us last time he was on the show aren't really necessary because they're already built into the federal statutory law, but they were just ignored last time. So they're expressing them again to kind of reiterate them and make sure their rules don't get ignored, despite the fact they are already in law.
Well, I like any time I get to talk to that Garland. He's a very, very smart man.
He is a very smart guy. Continuing here, it says tabulation, reconciliation on Election Day. Requires total ballots cast from the tabulator tapes to be reconciled with the total ballots cast from the ICP scanners. The rules necessary to detect the QR code signature.
Wait a minute. The insane clown posse is going to be scanning this?
The insane clown posse are going to be They're going to be election poll watchers, making sure that it's a transparent election. They say this rule is necessary to detect the QR code signature mismatch error that causes ballots accepted by the scanners to not be tabulated. There is no current means to detect this error found in the 65 of 67 counties surveyed in 2020 and observed in May 2024 primary. So the thing with the QR codes is you vote on the machine, then it prints out a QR code. And the assumption is that the QR code represents the button that you pushed on the machine, but there is actually no verifiable evidence of that for the voter themselves. And this, which means it could mismatch and they would have no idea. This is a remedy for that. Tabulation, is that the one I just did? Tabulation, reconciliation for advance voting. Total ballot cast for tabulator tapes be reconciled with the total ballots. I think it's the same thing. Eligible voters for eligible voters for an election. That makes sense. Requires each county and the SOS to post a freely accessible link to the certified time-stamped list of eligible voters and the supplemental list prior to the start of advanced voting. Data files shall remain posted and freely available to download for a minimum of 10 consecutive years. This will help deter electronic voter manipulation, voter identity theft, and I mean, that just seems like such a common sense rule. How are they going to call this racist or this election interference? They will. They absolutely will. A couple more here.
So the QR code would make it that you could go online and see for yourself that your vote was.
Yes, so you can actually verify it. Yes, which you cannot do now. And that was Garland's rule. So these three here, you see Garland, memory retention. Garland's going to be presenting on Friday. He's going to be.
So, like, I guess what I'm assuming is it's racist because some ethnicities don't know how to use QR codes.
I think the argument is going to be some people don't have the technology to verify their vote.
But they were all given cell phones from Obama.
Well, the Obama phone is kind of old now. I don't know if it's like a flip phone almost. You know, nobody wants that. They need an Obama iPhone 16 is what they need. The Kamala phone. And then eligible vote, we got that one. I think just one more here or two more. Just one more. Voters who voted in an election may be heard as old business. What is this one?
You know, what would the Kamala phone be called?
I don't know.
Misinformation?
It'd be called the misinformation phone. This rule requires the SOS to post a list of voters who voted immediately after an election is conducted. Concern over voter privacy for further consideration. This rule will help deter electronic voter roll manipulation and ballot box stuffing and all. So these rules are Garland puts these up there so people can look up the statute and the language they're using, and then Garland actually says, unlike this Democrat activist group that's going to try and disrupt this meeting, state elections board meeting, Garland says, go read the rules, think about what you feel about them, what you believe about them, and then if you want to come do public comment, you get 2 minutes to speak, prepare your 2 minutes, and either advocate for it or advocate against it. He doesn't say come just support it. He says think about it and evaluate. Whereas the Democrats are like, here's your script, come be subversive. I'm going to be there Friday. It's going to be interesting. I mean, it's like you're going to have to camp out there to even get a seat because of the activism that's going to be going on.
Oh, it's going to be like Black Friday is what you said.
It's going to be like Black Friday. I'm going to bring a bunch of ping pong balls to fire off at the...
You should bring pickleballs. They're a lot more dangerous.
I hate pickleball. Pickleball is the gayest sport that's ever existed. You know, they're going to get rid of all the golf courses in this country, and they're going to replace them. This is part of the plan because business happens on golf courses. Liberty and freedom.
And I'm a big golf course
You're advocate. A big golf course advocate. They're going to destroy all the golf courses in America and replace them with pickleball courts, and we're all going to be put into forced pickleball encampments where we will be required to play 80 hours of pickleball a week. It's going to be hell.
You know, this is more reason why we have to save America, Brad.
I wish you would advocate that. I wish you would take my...
Maybe we should make a promo.
Let's make a promo that you will ban pickleball.
Well, not only that, but we should spread awareness that they're going to be making these pickleball and tournament camps, and they're going to take away golf courses.
Yeah, and they're not. It's going to be...
Because how can you do business plan pickleball? You can't.
The only thing that happens in pickleball is gay sex.
You know, I would assume that the tennis instructor from Seinfeld might actually be good at pickleball because he wasn't good at tennis.
World Record says pickleball is super fun. I've actually never played it. World Records. It looks like either tiny tennis or large ping pong to me.
Do you think this world record could be controlled opposition?
No, I don't. I think if he's played it, then I could see where it could be fun. Maybe I need to get out there. I've just been so against it.
Controlled by somebody right now, Brad?
I don't by the pickleball establishment. Is it like racquetball? No, because there's no wall there. It's just short. Like moving on. So this is a story I want to get your opinion on, Mr. President. Let me put this up on screen. You might not have, this is somebody who supports your campaign now, RFK Jr.
Love RFK. You know, we had a perfect phone call.
I know, and that's what won him over. Did you know about this? That NOAA confirms investigation into RFK Jr. over dead whale carcass?
What are they?
You familiar with this?
No. What are they saying, that he killed a whale?
Let me tell you what happened. He's being investigated by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration for allegedly decapitating a dead whale carcass.
You know, I'm president. I was president. Let me put a disclaimer there. I'm not president right now in a secret sting operation to destroy the deep state.
Mr.
But I
President,
was president.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of the NOOO.
It's a real organization. It's been around a while.
It sounds like some environmentalist crap.
It might be. I'm actually a little surprised that
it's like that latest Kamala ad where she's, and let's talk about how we save the environment. When they're not going to do anything to save the environment.
She's gonna blow it.
They lie about every single thing that they do. They want you to be dependent on them, Brad.
Mr. President, I'd like to tell you more about RFK Jr.
Oh, sorry. I'm just still really upset.
We have a lot of stories to get through.
Yeah, I know. Under my skin.
I know.
Every time I run against a woman, I just get really, really angry.
You hate him. I understand. I'm surprised that upon hearing about him decapitating a dead whale carcass that you didn't respond by saying, "I thought Rosie O'Donnell was still alive."
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
You
Brad.
should use that, Mr. President, when you're.
She's hideous.
Yeah, even with her head, she is. RFK Jr. is being accused of, I guess what anybody would do when they stumbled upon a dead whale carcass at the beach, of cutting its head off and then taking that severed head back to his home. So he put it in his car, and this happened 2 days ago, allegedly. And the story resurfaced shortly after he suspended his campaign and went on stage with you and endorsed you, basically.
So wait a minute, this was a beached whale that he cut the head off of and took the head home?
This is my understanding of the story, which the claim came from his daughter, who in this article, I guess her nickname is Kick. And so they have her as Kathleen Kick Kennedy. So they have her as KKK.
Wow.
In this article. And during a 2012 interview, which was published in Town and Country magazine.
These Kennedys are wild.
They are very wild. They are very wild. Listen to this. This is a weird publication too, Town and Country magazine. She recalled that her dad, while they were at the beach, used a chainsaw to cut off the head of a dead whale carcass on the beach near their Cape Cod home, and then putting it in the car and driving it all the way back to New York, which is like a 4-hour drive.
And when was this?
This was two decades ago, 20 years ago.
Oh, so he's being investigated for a crime way outside of the statute of limitations. That's really weird for the Biden justice system, but go on.
I agree that they let that linger for a while before going after him. But
I could see 20 years ago him being able to carry a whale head by himself. He's a burly young man.
I don't know if that's what's in question, whether or not he can carry it. Can you imagine being at the beach with him?
Brad, have you ever used a chainsaw?
I have.
They're not easy to use.
No, they're not. This is why this is such a feat.
And so what? He just had the chainsaw on his car.
And this is what I'm talking about. His kids were young then. So you're at the beach with your dad and you stumble upon a whale carcass. And as a kid, that's only the second or third most traumatic thing that happens to you that day.
Where's the proof of this? That just got the stuffed whale.
I'll tell you. I think he kind of admits it. He doesn't. He doesn't say that it's not true at all. But just think about that. You're 8 years old, and you're like, Daddy, a dead whale. And Dad goes, "Stay there, honey. I'll get the chainsaw." And then he doesn't send the kids inside. He says, "Stay here, and you need to see this."
That's good parenting.
This is going to be your inheritance. You need to see how much work it took for me to get this for you.
How much, they probably made a huge makeup line just out of that head.
You're right. It's decades worth of makeup. So, yeah, it was the Center for Biological Diversity Action Fund that called for
Center what?
The group that called for the investigation was the Center for Biological Diversity Action Fund that called for the investigation.
The Center for Biological Diversity Action Fund.
Yeah, they want biological diversity and action.
But the whale was dead, right?
But just think about he took the whale, he chainsawed the whale head, and then he put it in the car for 4. Did he put it in the trunk?
He made his daughter wear it on the way home.
I thought maybe he wore it just to freak out other. I'd like to see him come out on stage with you wearing that whale's head.
That's a boss move right there.
Bring it out of the freezer. What does he have in his freezer, man? This guy's got crazy stuff in his cellar.
So he cut the whale head off. He made his daughter wear it the whole ride home.
Yep, and to school.
But the whale was dead, right?
I think maybe not. I don't know.
You know, if
he swam out into the ocean and drug it.
If it's not dead, he's no different than a Haitian.
No, it was our. No, he did not kill somebody's pet whale. It was already dead.
Free Willy. That's a sad movie.
Yeah, it ends with Willie losing his head. So here's Kennedy's response.
It ends with Willie getting beached and Kennedy cutting its head off.
Right, yeah, right before he has sex with it. This is what Kennedy said in response to the allegation.
You should do it in a Kennedy voice.
No, I'm not. I can't do Kennedy's voice. He said that he wrote a letter.
You think it's offensive?
No, I just can't. I'm not going to do it. Well, let me tell you what he said, Mr. President.
And then you want me to do it?
No, you don't need to do that. We got a couple more stories to do. If you want to try Kennedy's voice, then that's fine. But let me tell you what he said. He said that he wrote a letter. I can't do it.
Brad.
I can't do it. I don't do impersonations.
That was really good.
He wrote a letter to the NOAA in response to being informed that he's under investigation, and he accused them of killing marine wildlife with, quote, giant offshore wind farms on the East Coast. So I love that he doesn't even deny it. He says, yeah, so what? You kill giant offshore wind farms. And that was his response. I loved that. It was just like when he was accused of sexually assaulting a nanny. And he was like, I never claimed to be a choir boy. I was wild in my youth. And they're like, you were 45, Mr. Kennedy.
I mean, those Kennedys, they're wild. They're wild, you know. And I like that Chris Pratt, too, but he's a Kennedy now.
He's a Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, but Schwarzenegger's a Kennedy's now.
Is Schwarzenegger married to the Kennedys? Oh, I thought he married his maid. He didn't marry his maid? Mr. President?
What?
Okay, well, moving on. I didn't know that he was still. I thought they got divorced.
I don't know. Did they?
I think they did a long time ago.
Me and Arnold had a big falling out.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. He's not on your side. All right, moving on to Diddy.
Ooh, P. Diddy.
P. Diddy.
You know, the song "Come With Me" has a whole new meaning now.
It's "Come in Me" is what it's going to be on the song.
Or "Let Me Come in You."
Which I don't know if that one flows as well and with a rap lyric, but
I mean it could. They're really talented, those rappers.
There's gonna be a lot of people he's gonna write with in prison. Diddy arrested and taken into federal custody, and this happened around 7:30 tonight, as according to TMZ. Homeland Security arrested him at a hotel in Midtown, New York, and the grand jury's been hearing all this testimony from accusers the past few months in regards to like sex trafficking and bunch of other weird stuff. And so they took him to the FBI's Manhattan office, and I don't know what prison he's in. There's no word on whether or not he has started organizing gay prison sex, but it's like you take Diddy to prison and it's like right where he wants to be. But his attorney said this.
Well, do you know if he's part of this Divine Nine, Brad?
I don't think Diddy went to college.
Oh, you gotta go to college to be a part
of it? I could be wrong. I actually haven't looked into that.
I mean, he is a part of the Illuminati, but go on.
Here's what his lawyers said. His lawyers said, we are disappointed with the decision to pursue what we believe is an unjust prosecution of Mr. Combs by the U.S. Attorney's Office. Sean Diddy Combs is a music icon, self-made entrepreneur, a loving family man, and proven philanthropist who has spent the last 30 years building an empire, adoring his children, and working to uplift the black community. He then said he is an imperfect person, but not a criminal.
I mean, if those are the standards of not prosecuting somebody, I shouldn't have been prosecuted 97 times.
Again, I don't know that I'd compare you myself with Diddy. I would get a little space before making a comparison like that. So speaking so Diddy has some weird stories that I don't know if a lot of people know about. You know, he used to date J-Lo.
Right? He's like the Epstein of the rap.
That's what some people say. I think it's more than that. But
I mean, what do you mean more than that? Like he probably compromised multiple people, and you're all about talking about people.
No, I'm not saying it's not part of it, but I don't know that he's the Epstein of it. I think he's just kind of a small player.
You think he's a pawn?
You know, he's
got a much bigger game of cat and mouse.
When they said they found the killer of Tupac a year ago, when they started talking about that guy who they've known had shot Tupac for like 20 years, I was like, Diddy's next. Because Diddy, according to most statements, ordered the murder of Tupac. Now, this is different.
You know, some people think he killed Biggie too.
Have you seen the video of Tupac when he's like 16 being interviewed and he's like a flamboyantly gay high school teenager?
Yeah, and there's a lot of comments that say he don't sound gay, but he does.
Oh, he used to be a promoter at Howard, says D's Last. That makes sense.
What's Howard, D?
It's a HBCU school. So here's the story. So check this story out. So J-Lo is single again, so she could go back with Diddy if she really wanted to. But this headline here is from a few months back, but the story happened in 1999. Sean Diddy Combs' history of legal trouble includes a 1999 arrest with Jennifer Lopez where she was handcuffed to a pole.
I mean, that just sounds like some light BDSM.
I mean, it was in public. So let me get down to the description. So there's the two of them together.
I mean, look at that shirt, though. You're telling me she's not trying to get handcuffed to a pole in public?
Well, I think she's trying to make a gay man be attracted to her by getting almost naked. It says the Lopez arrest. In 99, Diddy and then girlfriend Lopez were arrested on weapons and bribery charges. In December of that year, they were partying at a club in New York. When they were leaving, Combs bumped into a man named Matthew Scar Allen.
Wow.
Allen pushed back, leading to a fight in which shots were fired. 3 clubbers got injured. Combs and Lopez left the scene in his car and got pulled over after running a light. Police found a gun in the car, which led to the couple getting arrested. And then it says...
why do you got to have an illegal gun if you're that rich?
I don't know. Maybe it had some sort of alterations on it. So this is the now retired cop. He said, there were all these high-profile lawyers barricaded in the station house waiting to talk to the desk officer. They had J-Lo handcuffed to a pole. She was crying all over the place in the squad room. She was just upset about the whole thing. Ultimately, Lopez
she was handcuffed to a pole in a prison.
It sounds like the police handcuffed her to a pole, and then she was surrounded by a bunch of lawyers.
And I'm sure that they felt like they had to because she was using her privilege and assaulting police officers, if I had to guess.
Listen to this one. In 2015, he was arrested for swinging a kettlebell at an assistant UCLA football coach after the coach yelled at Diddy's son, who played on the team. Kettlebell.
Brad, have you seen the video with him where he's got the kids who's adopting?
Yeah, I've seen that. It's weird. And sticking with the chef theme, we know the Obama chef disappeared in the river. Diddy's ex-chef.
I was thinking chef from South Park.
Diddy's ex-chef Cinda Arudi alleged that she was regularly made to prepare and serve food to Diddy and his guests while they were engaging in sexual acts. Of course, he denies it. There's a whole list of stuff they did. Then there's another one here. I won't go through this whole one, but just the gist of it.
It's just really disappointing, P. Diddy. It's really disappointing. I've heard weird allegations with him and other big time celebrities and even their children. It's very strange.
It is strange. This one says feds set to widen Diddy's sex probe over claims rapper boasted about shooting people, bribing jurors, and using J-Lo as a gun mule. So maybe
here's a philosophical question: do you think we actually live in hell?
I don't think so. What do you think that, Mr. President?
I mean, I'm starting to wonder, like things are getting really, really dark. When somebody says, I just want the wars to end, it means that you're advocating for another just as evil side, uh,
But you are
Ukraine.
one of the sides.
No, I'm saying that, like, I just said I want the war to end. And what they want you to do is say, oh, are you on Ukraine's side or Russia's side? I'm on the
Oh,
side of
right.
peace.
Right.
And
That's why that guy didn't like that stance.
Kiev is
Kiev.
it's a very, very corrupt place. The Ukrainian government has been known to be corrupt for
Mr. President,
years.
we have a very informed audience. The corruption and the Azov Battalion, everything there is definitely well known.
Well, I'm sorry. I just
I want to ask you a question though. You said something, and I want to ask you a question. If you think this could be hell, what would your idea of heaven be?
I adorn Trump towers with gold, and in the good book it says that the streets will be made of gold. All
So heaven
dogs.
is Trump towers.
Pretty much, yeah. Like there's gonna be great glass buildings.
So we're gonna go up the same escalator you came down.
Yeah,
If we go to heaven.
You can come back down and visit sometimes because there's gonna be a new Earth.
I think I saw a movie like that.
And there's
a new Earth, a good Earth.
Well, they say that that after the 10,000 years or whatever, the Lord's going to create a new heaven and a new earth
where RFK Jr. can cut the heads off of any whale he wants with a chainsaw and make all the children wear.
Well, his voice will definitely be fixed.
Yeah, you'll be able to hear him.
And there's all the dogs. All those poor dogs from Springfield.
You've been saving those dogs and cats from the Haitians in Ohio. We know, Mr. President.
They're all going to be there, Brad.
Yeah. All right, we got a couple more stories, Mr. President. I'm not going to play this whole interview, but did you know that Kamala Harris did a interview on Friday with Action News in Philadelphia, a local affiliate? It did on Friday so that gets the least amount of media attention when you bury a story on Friday. Did you see any of this interview, Mr. President?
No. So wait, you say that big stories happen on Fridays because it doesn't go anywhere.
Yes, it doesn't get coverage. If you want to get a story out there that you don't want people to really focus on, you drop it late on Friday.
Brad, I'm so impressed with the amount that you've learned about propaganda. I'm really proud of you.
Thanks, Mr. President. So I don't want to play this whole interview, but I do want to show, to begin with, I want to show the very beginning and I want to show the end because there's something unique about this interview that you really don't see.
Don't you have a book on propaganda that's like $10 million?
I have Edward Bernays' book, Engineering of Consent, not the 8-page article, the entire book, and that book is very expensive. I found it at a library and I printed every page of it, so I have hijacked copy.
Savvy. That's very savvy.
So let me show the beginning of this.
I'm probably gonna have a place for you somewhere.
I appreciate that, Mr. President. Here's the beginning of this interview, and you'll notice right away what's different. And then I'm gonna stop it and show you the very end.
All good?
Okay.
Okay, wonderful. Good. Awesome.
Okay, stop it there. Now let's go to the very end of this interview.
Wait a minute. Why show that part?
Because you'll see. I'm going to show this here. You should know this. This is something that you have experience with.
Oh, is she going to do locker room talk?
Hold on.
Thank you all.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Let me take it back a little bit.
Thank you, Brian.
So much.
Thank you.
There's the end of the interview.
Thank you all.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Taking her mic off.
Yeah.
Yep, having a conversation. So that is what's called B-roll footage. So that is they included the before you say action and then the after you say cut footage that is not normally included in an interview like this. And that was very specific, and it was done on purpose because they are desperately trying to make Kamala Harris not look like a drunken robot They're trying to make her
they're
look
trying
human.
to make her look normal.
They're trying to make her look like she's sitting there reacting off the cuff. I mean, even her B-roll is scripted. I watched this a number of times. The whole thing is very convoluted and scripted, and they made a conscious choice to do this to make it look like she's just sitting here patiently waiting, doesn't know what's going to happen, and then going to go into the interview.
So show the beginning again.
There's no reason to show this.
All good? Okay. Okay, wonderful. Good. Awesome. Madam Vice President?
That's not how. That was rehearsed. That was rehearsed a number of times, and it's part of this strategy to make it look like Kamala is down to earth and just like us.
So you think they did the top of the interview?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, because I've seen the way they handle Kamala. They do not let her do anything that is not strategically planned. And watch this at the end here. It's not actually watch this again. Watch the way she says yes, ready. It's not. It's bad acting.
All good? Okay. Okay, wonderful. Good. Awesome. Madam Vice President?
This is my opinion on this, but then you come here. Why are you showing this? There's no reason to show this. And
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
cut right there.
You.
That's it.
Thank you all.
Oh, she's nice to the people. How do I do this, Mike? Yeah. Oh, thanks. Here it is. Here it is, plebe.
Yeah, here you go, sound guy. You know, the sound guy is the most marginalized guy in film.
The sound guy, they do all the good. You can't have a good movie or good interview without sound.
You know, I was talking to an actor friend of mine once, and he was telling me he was driving down to a set with a couple of the producers, and they were complaining about the sound guy on their set in front of him, which
That's
I
not
think
very
is
smart.
very
You shouldn't do that
unprofessional.
because you're usually mic'd and the sound guys can hear you.
No. This was like they were driving down to another set. Nobody was mic'd. It was all completely behind the scenes.
Well, that's not very smart.
But it was producers, you know, bad mouthing their crew in front of an actor, and they brought up how this sound guy mentioned that he was marginalized on the set. That the job of sound is marginalized, and
Mr. President, that's a great. I love that story. I want to.
Oh, you don't want to hear it? That's
No, I
fine.
want to stick to why I want to show this with Kamala because I'm serious. If you watch her and everything she does, they try different things every single time. I played a clip yesterday of her walking over to say hi to these young people who were on her bus tour, and it was so awkward. They could not even show a full camera shot of her walking from an SUV to where all the bust people to her rallies are, which was probably about 50 feet, because it was so she messed it up. They had to cut from her getting off to her walking up. It was such a make sure you hit your mark moment. If you've been on sets and you've seen how this works,
I've been on plenty of sets.
I know she doesn't know how to do this stuff well, but they're desperately trying to make her appear to be something that she's not. But I think the reason they chose her, one of the reasons, same reason they chose Biden, is because she's a drunken robot lush who it's very hard to make her look like a normal person, just like Biden is senile, because they can completely control and compromise people like that. They don't have to worry about Kamala going rogue and going against her orders because she can't stay sober long enough.
Like look at the way that she when Obama and her and Biden were together, and it was near the end of right before Biden stepped down, and just how enamored she was with the boss,
Yeah, she does not look in. I'm going to play about 2 minutes of this interview because there's a couple of other reactions that are not that just show that she is so inauthentic, and you can see her looking down to the right. I think she has a script sitting on the table because they don't ever show a two-shot except very briefly at the end, which they usually do in interviews.
All good? Okay.
Falcons won.
Good. Awesome. Madam Vice President, pleasure to meet you. Thanks for your time today.
Brian.
Our audience appreciates your time as
Of
well.
course.
As you know, we're sitting here in a state and arguably in front of an audience that 54 days from now could decide the outcome.
So this is something here. When they do interviews like this, they don't usually just show the person asking the question the whole time. It usually shows that two shot, maybe briefly on him, that two shot, then her listening to the question. But every time they cut this thing as though she's not even in the room with him, as though she answered the questions and then he filled in the questions later or something. It's weird.
Of this presidential election. You hear it more than I do. People want to know more about you and about your specific plans. At the debate the other night, you talked about creating an opportunity economy. I wonder if we can drill down on that a little bit. When we
Maybe
talk
she's
about
sucking his cock,
bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people, what are one or two specific things you have in mind for that?
So the question, what are one or two specific things that you are going to do to bring down prices and make life more affordable? Very, very simple question. Here is how she responds.
Well, I'll start with this. I grew up a middle-class kid. My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard. She was able to finally save up enough money to buy our first house.
But what about the
I
question?
was a teenager.
Yes, exactly.
I grew up in a community of hardworking people, construction workers.
Listen to this
and
shit.
Nurses and teachers. And I try to explain to some people who may not have had the same experience, but a lot of people will relate to this. I grew up in a neighborhood of folks who were very proud of their lawn. And
Kamala,
and I was raised to believe and to know that all people deserve dignity.
So Kamala, when asked, what is your specific plan to lower prices and make things more affordable? I grew up in an area where people were proud of their lawn, and therefore people deserve dignity. Dignity for landscapers. She's saying absolutely nothing. What she's leading to is she's trying to tell the fabricated backstory. None of that shit is true. It might be kernels of truth, but you can tell the way she talked about lawns that she has never worked in a garden or on a lawn in her life. I would like to see some follow-up questions here about, oh, really? What kind of sod did they lay in that neighborhood? You learned so much about it. How did you guys keep those beautiful lawns alive in the hot, dry, climate change summers down there? Let's get into some of the specifics of the expertise of this freaking made-up story that she can't even hardly remember all of it. But the purpose of it is to say, I grew up around a bunch of people in poverty, and basically she's talking, it's all equity shit. And so therefore, the opportunity economy is giving specific groups of people a bunch of government printed money, or money that's taxed off the wealthiest, and not giving it to other people. It's giving it to minorities at the exclusion of other people who could be in the very same situation as them financially, but they don't fit the racial equity criteria, which is in the bill that's already been presented to Congress, that's supported by her, supported by Raphael Warnock, and supported by Maxine Waters. And it's called like the Racial Equity Investment something program. And she just says all this bullshit to try. Nobody knows what she's talking about.
And that we as Americans have a beautiful character. We have...
Shut up. Okay, that's all I want to see in that. All right, now I got a couple fun stories. We're going to get out of here. I love this about you, Mr. President. I saw this story today, and I thought it was... of course, this headline is a bit misleading from Daily Beast. Daily Beast says, reggaeton star Nicky Jam deletes endorsement after Donald Trump misgendering. Now, I think they're jumping to conclusions here. I'm pretty sure this guy never, because this is a man, Nicky Jam is, and you referred to Nicky Jam as a woman because you heard you got his endorsement and probably had no idea who he was. I didn't know who he was.
I'd never heard of him until recently.
And so he actually posted, jokingly, he posted in Spanish, I think, a joke about him being a hot lady. Well, let me read the first article. The first paragraph says, Nicky Jam seems to be rolling back his support for Donald Trump after the Republican nominee mistakenly introduced him as a hot woman at a Las Vegas rally over the weekend. So they're trying to make it sound like you did that, Mr. President, then he got all mad and deleted his endorsement, and now he's like a Latino for Harris or something, which none of which is true.
Also, like if if this person is willing to roll back an endorsement over such a
You don't
small
want it.
mistake, do I really want that person
He's probably
anyway?
eating the dogs. I'm going to show you the clip of you doing it. Misgendering, as they put it. It's pretty funny.
Latin music superstar Nicky Jam. Do you know Nicky? She's hot. Latin music superstar Nicky Jam. Do you know Nicky? She's hot. Where's Nicky? Where's Nicky? Thank you, Nicky. Great to be having you here. Now you have to get. Oh, look. Come here. Come here.
Oh, look.
I'm glad he came up.
That is so funny to me. Although, you know, I think he probably deleted the post because people were trolling him, not because he's walking back his support. But what I really would have liked for you to have done, Mr. President, is when he walked on stage, I wish that you would have said, "You see what I'm saying here? Isn't she beautiful? Isn't this a beautiful woman? She's gorgeous.
Sing the Miss Universe song.
Spin around for us, would you, Nikki? Beautiful,
Isn't she
beautiful."
lovely?
Yeah, that would have been fantastic. Really, really emasculate him.
You know,
All right.
Brad, I was a big fan of that Kelly from Fox News. I'm not a big fan of hers anymore.
Kelly, Megyn Kelly.
No, Kelly. She used to be on the 5.
Kelly.
She was on MTV.
You're talking about not Kelly. It's the one with the dark hair.
Kennedy.
Yeah. Why don't you like Kennedy anymore?
I mean, she talked a lot of smack after the debate.
Well, you know, what'd she say?
I mean, you know, just proving more about Fox being controlled opposition. Like,
well, you know,
I
sometimes
saw that somebody tried to.
somebody accused me of being controlled opposition the other day.
You know, I don't pay you enough to be controlled opposition.
No, you don't pay me at all. I certainly don't get anything from the Russians to be controlled opposition. But the reason for it was simply because I didn't blindly say that I loved you and that I pointed out some of your flaws along with a guest, but also
I
spent most of the time saying that the values of Trump supporters are far better than those of Kamala, and going after Kamala, but because we weren't it was the same like either or propaganda attitude that people on the left have, and I was called controlled opposition.
You know, Brad, I can admit that I have flaws. You know, I don't think Kamala can admit that about herself.
She doesn't have any flaws.
And you know, I'm open to criticism, especially from the people that love me the most.
Well, that's good. That's why you surround yourself by Barron.
You tell that cute little couple that was on your show that.
I'll do so.
I mean that guy, he did well for himself, Brad. He did well.
Oh yeah, that was a great show. That was what you're talking about, the one from this past Saturday.
Yeah,
talking about Legit Bat.
Y'all watch that
Joe and Jen from Legit Bat. Yeah.
Terrible
that was
comedy
fun.
show. Terrible comedy. You know,
where we made fun of the CNN show. All right, Mr. President, we got one more show, one more story, then we're gonna get out of here.
You know, you keep rushing me tonight, Brad.
Well, you know, if I don't interject, Mr. President, we could be here all night.
I was
and
just
we
going
can
to
get
tell
off
you
track.
that Melania and I had a great time watching your show.
I'm glad. You know, anytime I get to think about Melania is time that I appreciate. Honestly, I'd like for you to let me take a pass at her right now.
You know, not yet. You know, give me another 5 or 10 years.
I mean, she's going to be in her. I'd like to get it before she's hits her 60s.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that happening unless, you know, we got the deal. If something happens
if you let me with Melania, I'll vote for you.
What about if I get Ivanka to divorce Jared?
I could go with Ivanka also.
You know, it just proved that I'm an anti-Semite, but you know, I might
that's
do it
true.
for you.
That's true. But your grandchildren are Jewish, so which you'll probably kill them first.
I mean, they're not Bolsheviks, Brad.
Stoner says 60 vag is the best. Could be. Very experienced.
Oh yeah.
All right.
I mean, all vag is good vag.
I know you got a lot of quotes about that. So I'm going to go through the story, Mr. President. It's from The Smoking Gun.
As long as it's dished.
Is what?
Dished.
What's that mean?
You know, a douche.
Oh, douche. Okay.
You gotta dish that badge.
It may or may. Oh, you're talking about the 6th year. Let's get to the story, Mr. President. But I do understand what you're saying, the sentiment. Woman again busted for dildo battery. Busted again is definitely an interesting headline for dildo battery. So we know what her weapon of choice is when she gets in a fight, domestic violence fight with her husband. I just, when I see that headline, I imagine, because I went to a sex shop to buy a bunch of weird stuff to pass out at Dragon Con when I was pretending to be a white dude for Harris.
Yeah, you and what's his face?
Me and Jake.
No. The other guy that frequents sex shops all the time, apparently.
What other guy?
The politician.
I don't know what politician.
The Republicans' Black Hope.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Yes, you do. They talked about it on that show.
I don't remember. Oh, I don't remember which one visits it. You're not talking about. Who are you talking about that goes to sex shops all the time?
The black politician. They're claiming that
there's more than one black politician.
Are there?
Yes.
They're claiming. I thought they were all Indian.
No, they're not.
Just Kamala.
Scott? You talking about Scott, the gay guy who pretends to have a wife?
Maybe it was him. They said that he used to go to sex shops all the time.
Brian Donaldson. Yeah. I don't know. Mr. President, we're getting off track here. We don't know which black politician you're accusing of being a sex shop fiend.
No, I'm not accusing him.
He probably supports you.
CNN is. He does support me.
Do you see this lady here?
Yeah.
I imagine her going into sex shops and just smacking the dildos into her hand just to see which one's the firmest.
Even without makeup on, she looks like an orc from Lord of the Rings.
She looks like she would like her dildo a little bit spikier in case she breaks out.
Have you seen orcs? They like spiky dildos.
I haven't seen Lord of the Rings, Mr. President.
Yeah, but you know what an orc is, don't
you? I don't know. Is it like a... Was it an elf?
It's like a
Eric Adams.
Like a retarded elf. They're humanoid.
It's a retarded elf.
Yeah, they're like water baby elves.
It's like the guy who plays Rudy.
No, that's
he's a retarded elf.
No. He's a hobbit.
No, I just mean in real life, he's a retarded elf.
Oh yeah, maybe in real life, but it's not even like they're real. They have like crocodile skin, like if they've been doing crocodile, the Russian drug. I
don't know how you're going to be able to make America great again when you watch these Lord of the Rings movies all the time.
You put some big teeth on the bottom of her mouth, sticking up like a hog. Give her a few spikes on her head or something. Give her scaly skin. She'd look like an orc.
All right.
I mean, I think your fans would agree. I mean, we could take.
Maybe she would. Maybe she would. I'd have to see a picture. But let's get back to the story. So, it goes on to say they got in a fight. Chelsea White and her boyfriend were in the kitchen. It was a domestic battery dildo related incident. They were in the kitchen about to eat when the man discovered that his missing glass dildo.
Jeez.
Wait a minute. Why is the dildo in the kitchen to begin with? And why is it glass? Why do we need that? That seems like a dangerous combination. And it's his dildo.
Yeah, it does seem like a dangerous dildo.
It's his dildo and it's glass. And they're eating dinner, and he realizes the glass dildo is inside his wife's backpack. And during the 11 p.m. tussle that ensued, White and the 35-year-old victim exchanged assorted blows, and not sexually, like fist. After the pair briefly separated, the man told cops that White began hitting him again after he went to grab the backpack. This is all over a glass dildo. They're fighting over a glass dildo that could break inside of them.
Peg with somebody else.
To peg with somebody else?
Yeah, she's going to cheat on him with his glass dildo.
I just don't know why you have glass dildos It seems like an artistic piece, not something you'd use.
I mean, I guess glass, it can be smooth, I guess. I don't know.
Have you tried it?
No, I'm just
In your
I'm just
pussy?
using I'm using Occam's razor.
Okay. You use in your bussy, Occam's razor.
Not my bussy, Brad.
While White was standing in the kitchen and threw the glass dildo at her beau, the dildo missed its target, instead hitting a door and waking the couple's child. So only then the couple's child woke up. They were fighting. Did the dildo shatter? I wonder. But that's what woke the kid up. They're fighting over a glass dildo at dinner while their kid is sleeping. That's what. Why is mommy in jail? Mom and dad got in a fight over the glass dildo again. Buy two glass dildos. Is he making her use a rubber dildo?
You make a good point. If they would have bought two, they might not have had to fight over it.
I wonder what they use for makeup sex. They use those spiked dildos to use last that we talked about for the makeup sex. Stoner says Trump MAGA glass dildos, new product. That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
It does sound like a good idea. It sounds like a seller.
Yeah, and then where were we? Okay, so it hit, woken up the child. While White subsequently grabbed the bag and walked away from the property. She got away. No, the dildo was thrown and broken, I guess. Or maybe it's so sturdy it doesn't break. She was located hours later and arrested for domestic battery. White, who was locked up in the county jail in lieu of $1,000 bond, was arraigned Wednesday on the misdemeanor count. Her next court appearance is October 4th. When questioned by deputies about the recent confrontation, the victim said, that's the boyfriend, that White was arrested in the past for a similar incident where they got into an altercation over a dildo, which I covered this first one. As first detailed in these pages, White was busted in late 2022 when a verbal argument over a handbag and a sex toy turned violent. White, investigators charge, kicked and bit the victim that's the guy who had asked White to return the sex toy to him because he owned it. White, however, refused to give the sex toy back to the victim. So this couple has a history of fighting over sex toys and then getting back together and having that makeup sex. Assorted blows, says J-Dub. Yeah, assorted blows indeed. And then it says that White was found guilty and sentenced to 12 months probation fighting over sex toys. She was also ordered to pay about $800 in fines and court fees and was required to complete a batterer's intervention program. So she's going to an intervention program and explaining that she beat the shit out of her husband with a sex toy. It's unclear if the same dildo was involved in the 2022 and 2024 episodes. It's some dildo. Now, usually I don't.
It's crazy that you found the follow-up story that you covered before.
I know. Yeah.
Dildo people.
I'm just glad they're still together as a family raising their kid.
Yeah, that's better for the kid not to be in a broken home.
That's right. With a broken dildo. These stories do happen in Florida a lot. Florida has a law where they can share the details that some other states, they don't allow you to share. So that's another reason you get many of these, but also Florida's crazy. But this actually leaves out some details that the actual police report does not leave out. So I'm going to read the actual police report, which fills in some more blanks. You see, a lot of it's blacked out too. You can't see that. I'll put that on the screen. So that was the summary of the police report. This is the actual police report. A lot of redacted stuff here going on. In repeat incident, Floridian jailed in sex toy tiff. Upon arrival, this is the police officer writing his account of the events. I made contact with the victim, and they black out the name, in front of the residence. The victim advised that he and the suspect had been, and then they black out. I wonder what he and the suspect had been doing. I want to know that detail. He said that blank, Chelsea White assaulted him. She started walking northbound on the US 1. So she started walking on the interstate like a drunk chick does. She's like, I'm leaving. And then she just goes and puts herself in danger for no reason, which chicks do that sometimes.
Yeah, it's like that Key and Peele sketch.
Yeah. She has blonde hair and was seen wearing a black and blue hoodie, black pants, and a backpack. She's wearing all black, and she's walking around drunk at night, upset about a broken or a dildo. The description was provided by the deputy, Walker, Flores, and Sheeler, who responded. They attempted to track down the suspect, but they got negative results at first. And so it says here, I spoke with the victim. He said him and Chelsea were in the kitchen about to eat. He noticed the bag in the corner of the kitchen. He went to search it because he noticed the box was missing, which contained a glass dildo. Where was this? Is this box in the center of the dining room table, spinning in lights? Is it the main feature? As he began to search the bag, from the back, Chelsea wrapped her arms around his neck to try to take him to the ground. So she saw him go to the bag and immediately started trying to choke him out. When asked if she was choking him, he said he was still able to breathe and talk. So they're having a conversation while she's trying to choke him from the back. The victim said he had neck surgery in the past, which she knew about. The victim gave Chelsea multiple warnings to let him go, but she did not. The victim was able to then throw Chelsea to the ground, and he punched her one time. The victim and Chelsea then began to physically fight for a few before the victim backed off. Chelsea attempted to kick the victim, and he grabbed her legs and pulled them straight to prevent her from kicking him. He moved her legs out of the way, grabbed her arms, pulled her ponytail back, and pinned her to the ground, all of which their child slept through. This is what the child slept through. A WWE fight, punching, kicking, pulling ponytails, choking. Kid sleeps, but once that dildo hits the wall,
boom, the kid's awake.
Kid's awake. Because he knows that sound. Because 2 years ago, he was she was traumatized by possibly that very same dildo. The victim got off Chelsea and walked into the living room away from Chelsea. So didn't go say, hey, son or daughter, go back to bed. Walked into the living room. She was able to get up and start swinging on the victim again. So kept fighting again after the kid wakes up. When he went to grab the backpack, she started to hit him again. She was standing in the kitchen. She then threw the glass dildo at him. Okay, so this is when the kid woke up. Kid's still asleep at that point. Dildo hits the door, caused the kid to wake up. He grabbed so-and-so and walked outside. He said Chelsea grabbed the bag and walked down the highway. And the victim refused to write a written statement. Refused to write a written statement. Why? I mean, so this guy's kind of a pussy for calling the cops on his wife, honestly.
Yeah, it's like that sketch from SNL where it's a cop episode and they come to a domestic dispute and it's Bill and Hillary.
Yeah. If you're going to own a glass dildo, don't be a little bitch about it when your wife tries to take it from you. You know?
Yeah.
Especially if she's willing to fight you and choke you out for it and go risk her life on the highway, give your wife the glass dildo. Why does he want it? He's got to be gay. Oh, here's more. I didn't see this. There was an audio recording of the incident. I would like to hear that audio recording. It was 12-minute long. So they had a 12-minute fight that the kid slept through. In the audio, you could hear the victim and Chelsea arguing back and forth. At one point, the victim screamed at Chelsea to get off him. He screamed. Kids in the other room, parents fighting, screaming over a glass dildo. A link was sent to the victim, and the audio was uploaded to evidence.com. The victim did state Chelsea was arrested in the past for a similar incident where they got into an altercation over a dildo. This isn't our first, go-round over a dildo, officer. Around 3:15, Deputy Walker and Flores located Chelsea at the intersection of North and U.S. Highway. So she's just in St. Lucie Boulevard. Just walking around in the middle of the night, crying over a broken dildo. When I made contact with Chelsea, I asked what happened. She said that nothing happened. At first, she was hesitant to identify herself, but eventually confirmed she was Chelsea. I explained to Chelsea that we're investigating an incident that occurred between her and the victim. She said she left the scene because she was tired of getting beat up by the victim. It does sound like he was kind of beating her up too, doesn't it? I mean, she did start by choking him. She didn't provide much information. She was put in handcuffs. Checked for tightness. What is that? She was put in handcuffs and checked for tightness? And double lock? I guess the handcuffs were checked for tightness. Excuse me. Man, you're way too tight for that dildo anyway. It's way too big for you. Before asking more questions, I read Chelsea her Miranda rights from an agency card, which she understood. And then a domestic violence packet. What a family. That poor kid. I want to know what happened to the dildo. I want to know what is so great about this dildo. Is it crystal? Is there more to this description? I met the victim. No, we already read that part of it. All right, so that's you live in a glass dildo, don't throw stones. Maybe it was black. Maybe you're right, Stoner. It was a black glass dildo. Now, that's something I would fight a bitch for. What's up, A-Rim? Diddy done did it. Diddy's going to done get it done. For sure. What's up, Legit Bat? What's up, JC? I think that's where we're going to end it. I think we're going to close on a glass dildo fight. Because a glass dildo fight is going to be the peak of an evening. I think any evening there's a glass dildo fight, that's the climax. That's the climactic part of the evening. So we'll end there. Yeah, smash the like button, you filthy animals, and share and subscribe. Thank you. I appreciate that, Stoner. I forget to say that. Yeah, I'll give you a call, D's. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out and talking with us. We will do it again later this week. Hopefully tomorrow night, I will be able to come back and give you guys a report of how Tim Walsh's rally or his events tomorrow go. Hopefully I'm going to get into one of them. I think I might be able to. Forrest Mommy is fantastic. I love having her on the show. We vibe well, and we don't like the government like a lot of you guys. That's why I like you guys. All right. I'm going to go read about how the Braves lost. Gave up 9 runs on 4 hits. How do you give up 9 runs on 4 hits? Talk to you guys next time. Propagandafight.com, youtube.com/ProudBinkley. Share the show. At Freedom Act Radio on Twitter. Have a fantastic rest of your evening.